ALAHAZRAT, ALAHAZRAT, Imam Ahmed Raza, Imam Ahmed Raza. Let's know who's ALAHAZRAT.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen, amma ba'd, fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah,
Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah
wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah.
wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah.
Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah,
Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah
wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah.
wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah.
Welcome to our program, Who is ALAHAZRAT? This program is all about learning about the life of this great Imam, the reviver of Islam, ALAHAZRAT, Imam Ahmed Raza Khan, alayhi rahmatur rahman. Today, inshallah, we will be discussing a very important aspect of our great Imam. But before I do that, let me introduce you with our guest today. Alhamdulillah, we have our Ustad Habib Madani with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Wa
wa
alaykum
barakatuh.
assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
How are you doing, Ustad Sahab?
Allah ka karam, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen ala kulli
First of
hal.
all, big thanks, Jazakallah khaira, for blessing us in this beautiful program. Habib bhai, today we have a very important topic that we want to discuss. And the idea behind this short series is that there are a lot of people in our communities who are aware of ALAHAZRAT. They've heard the name, they have love for this great personality, they have a brief understanding who he is. But when you ask them the basic questions, now if you ask them, who is ALAHAZRAT? They won't be able to define it. If you ask them, how was his childhood? What did he do in life? What is he known for? These are basic questions that a lot of us are not able to describe, and mainly is because we're not really aware of them, of the great personality. We've heard this name, from the scholars during speeches. We've been inspired by this name, but this program is all about getting to know ALAHAZRAT. So today, inshallah, our main focus will be to discuss the childhood of ALAHAZRAT, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. But before we do that, should we have a brief introduction to when did ALAHAZRAT live?
Yeah, I think it's quite important because a lot of people, they might have heard the term ALAHAZRAT, they might have heard his name, etc., but they don't really exactly know much about him. So I think a brief little intro, and then inshallah we'll go into his sirah. First of all, a lot of people might be asking, we say ALAHAZRAT, was that his name? So ALAHAZRAT was not the name of this personality, but rather it is his title. So the scholars of Islam, especially the scholars around his time, and this is also another quality of this Imam as well, which I'm going to inshallah mention further on, that even the ulama ikram, the scholars of his time, even they used to call him ALAHAZRAT. Now what does ALAHAZRAT mean? So ALAHAZRAT, Ala in Arabic means the highest, and Hazrat is what is used to denote someone that's respectable. So when we say ALAHAZRAT, this basically means the highest from amongst the respectable people.
Subhanallah.
So this was the title that he was given by the scholars of Islam that were around him, the scholars of his era as well. Until today, people remember him by ALAHAZRAT. But he himself never called himself this title or anything like this. This was the scholars that gave him and blessed him with this title as well. So one thing was with his title of ALAHAZRAT. The second thing is, what is his actual name? So a bit of briefing regarding his actual name. So when he was born, and first of all, like you asked, which era was this sheikh from? So he was just past 102 years ago. So his actual name at birth was Muhammad.
Subhanallah.
So this was the birth given name. And a lot of people don't know this as well. The people who even know who he is, they don't actually really know. But his birth name was Muhammad. And he was then also given a few other names, meaning his grandfather and his father and his mother, they used to call him by other names. Like for example, his grandfather used to remember him as Ahmed Raza. These were just different titles and different names that were given to him, but he's well known as Ahmed Raza. And he is actually from the Pathan Pashtun descent. So he's Ahmed Raza Khan. So that is his, you can say, his background in terms of his racial background. And he's very much known, in fact, he calls himself Abdul Mustafa. So his name is Muhammad, he's known as Ahmed Raza, and he's from the Pashtun family. As well as this Abdul Mustafa, he calls himself, what does Abdul Mustafa mean?
The slave of Mustafa.
The slave of Mustafa, the slave of the chosen one, meaning Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was his love that he had, and from amongst that, his title that he used to use in his poetry and his works, Raza. So his, basically you can say, his second name.
When was ALAHAZRAT born?
So ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi was born on the 10th of Shawwal, corresponding to 1272 after Hijri, and in the English date it's 14th June 1856.
1856?
Yeah, quite a few years ago. And he was born at the time of Dhuhr Salah in a small little village called Jusuli in the city of Bareilly, which is in India.
So there's a famous saying that he derived his birth year from the verse of the Quran. What's the background to this?
There's a knowledge called Ilmul Jafar or Ilmul Adad, is also known as well. It's to do with numerical value in correspondence with the letters. So for example, like you see 786, that is derived from a knowledge called Ilmul Jafar or Ilmul Adad, is also known as well. It's to do with numerical values in correspondence with the letters. So for example, like you see 786, that is derived from the knowledge using Ilmul Adad.
So each Arabic letter corresponds to a particular number.
A particular number, yeah. So now doing some calculations, mathematical calculations, and using this knowledge, this science, he derived from a certain verse of the Holy Quran that his birth date is so-and-so in correspondence to that certain particular verse.
SubhanAllah. In front of me, I've got that verse I want to share. If someone wants to open this from the Quran, part 28, Surah Mujadalah, and it's verse number 22. Yeah, I'll read the verse as well. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أُولَٰئِكَ كَتَبَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْإِيمَانَ وَأَيَّدَهُمْ بِرُوحٍ مِّنْهُ. It is these upon whose hearts Allah has ingrained faith and has aided them with a spirit from His own. So from this particular verse, the total number, the numerical value of all the letters of this verse, it comes to 1272. And that's the birth year of ALAHAZRAT. SubhanAllah, that's amazing. Just imagine someone even today who has mastered this knowledge. That would be something special, because we don't really see that these days. Yeah, but this shows you that ALAHAZRAT Imam Ahmed Raza Khan rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he had expertise in many fields. And just this particular field, if you look at it, that who would normally do that? Yeah? Someone who actually has interest in this, he will read the verses of the Quran and then compare them with the numerical values and come up with some answers. It's something beautiful. SubhanAllah, it's amazing. SubhanAllah.
I also just want to mention as well here that another name of ALAHAZRAT, which he derived from using Ilm al-Abjad, using the knowledge of the numerical values, is Al-Mukhtar. So Al-Mukhtar was also a name that was derived using this knowledge as well.
Habibai, if we look at generally, when a person is born, then there's an era, at least for 10 years, under 10, the age of childhood. A lot of kids, they are learning, they're developing, but very rarely you'll find someone who's, so you can say like probably 1 in a million, who's very unique, in intelligence, in picking things up.
In character as well.
In character as well. And whereas the majority of people, it's that age of the life that you just enjoy, you have fun, you run around here and there, and it's like they say, it's the age of playing. Yeah. However, ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, his upbringing was something different. There are many incidents that have happened in his young age that possibly that led him, to this great path that he took on as a career in life as well. And any famous incident that you can remember from his young age?
I'll mention to you something that's even before his young age. So
Before he was born?
Before he was even born.
Subhanallah.
So and this will show the level of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed him with.
Allah.
His father, Maulana Naqi Ali Khan, who was also a great saint as well and a very famous scholar of Islam, who was also a mufti of his time. He had a dream when he was, when ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi was about to be born. And in this dream, when he woke up, he was a little bit confused as to what the explanation or the summary of the dream was. So he went to his father, meaning the grandfather of ALAHAZRAT, whose name was Ali Raza Khan. And he was also a very famous mufti of his time. A lot of people knew him in his area and in India. So what he said was that it's a very good news for you that a alim, a scholar will be born from your lineage and his knowledge will be spread far and wide.
SubhanAllah.
So this can be seen as well that even before the birth of ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam Ahmed Raza Khan, those predictions of his upcoming and his vastness of knowledge going throughout the whole world as well.
SubhanAllah. So there's a famous incident that we hear from the scholars that at a young age, possibly when ALAHAZRAT used to go to his Quran tutor to learn the Quran, and during that period, there was the time that his teacher was reciting some verses of the Quran, and ALAHAZRAT was reciting it differently.
Yeah. Once when ALAHAZRAT was in his class, his teacher was reciting a verse of the Holy Quran, and a particular letter he was reciting it, and he was reciting it with a zabar. But when he told ALAHAZRAT to repeat that certain verse, when he came to that letter, ALAHAZRAT would recite it with a zir. So he would read it opposite to what the teacher is saying. So again, the teacher would say again that recite it with a zabar. He would again recite it with a zir. And again, persistently, this happened a few times. And Maulana Raza Ali Khan, he was sat close by, and he said that, what is this problem going on? So he brought the Quran and he checked the mushaf and he checked the writing, and he noticed himself that in fact there's been a mistake in terms of printing, and where the teacher was reciting with the zabar, that was actually wrong. But what Imam Ahmed Raza Khan was reciting was with the zair, that was in fact correct. So he was a bit surprised that, why did this happen for? So his grandfather asked him that, Ahmed Raza, tell me, why did you keep on reciting it with a zair when the teacher was telling you to repeat it with a zabar? So ALAHAZRAT said that, look, I wanted to recite it with a zabar, but each time that I wanted to recite, it ended up being recited as a zair. So seeing this, he saw that this was a special child.
Possibly ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi was trying to recite the same words as the teacher, but his tongue was, you could say it was like controlled. Yeah, he's struggling to say those words. And if you look at the bigger sign to this, this is a sign that this child was being guided from Allah Ta'ala.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from a young age was keeping him safe from even these type of mistakes as well.
Subhanallah. Generally, child wouldn't know, if you to read a zabar or a zain. You just follow what your teacher says to you at that age. But subhanallah, I'm just thinking, just imagine what would be going through on the teacher's mind when he heard this, and when he became aware of this. And even the grandfather, just imagine what, and this grandfather wasn't just a normal grandfather. He's an Islamic scholar. Yeah? And as a family, you'll be so excited that you're blessed with a very unique child in the house. Yeah, and Allah Ta'ala has protected this child at a young age. This child is something special.
Definitely.
Like in life, as grandparents, you see your grandchildren, but you know that you very less likely you will see your own grandchildren in their adulthood, or in their late age. You won't really see them because as life goes, you pass away.
Lifespan,
yeah. But just imagine, as a grandfather, he will probably be thinking this child is something special, and inshallah, when he grows big, he could do something extraordinary as well. Yeah, just imagine the happiness, on the face and in the heart of this great, grandfather. May Allah Ta'ala have mercy on his resting place.
Ameen.
Subhanallah. Regarding this ALAHAZRAT's childhood, it starts from, rather young age, where, a normal child, when he recites the Quran in a madrasa, it takes, someone 2-3 years, 4 years sometimes to complete the whole Quran, and by the age of 9 or 10, they get to read the Quran or complete the Quran.
And before that is actually the the learning of the Arabic.
The learning of Arabic.
Yeah.
And Subhanallah, ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he completed the recitation of the Holy Quran by the age of 4.5 years.
Subhanallah.
Can you imagine? 4.5 years old child, he's completely read the whole Quran.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah, this is something extraordinary. Yeah, something very special. And not just this, at the age of 6, this young child, ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he delivered a very in-depth speech on the topic of Miladun Nabi, the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. And this speech wasn't just in their own house. This speech was in front of a very large audience. And in that audience, there were scholars as well. Great, noble, knowledgeable individuals.
I think it said that it was literally like 2 hours long.
Yes, subhanAllah. I read that somewhere as well, that it was around 2 hours long. And just imagine a 6-year-old.
Exactly, yeah.
A 6-year-old standing up and delivering a speech
on one topic of
on one topic as
it's
well.
amazing.
That shows you that, this is, although we're looking at one side of the moment, the great talent of ALAHAZRAT, even at a young age, on the other side, there's something else that we normally neglect. They say there's always someone behind a successful person. And someone in the household, if someone is having great achievements, definitely there's someone in the house who's actually keeping a close eye, who's making sure everything is in place as far as his upbringing is concerned, his education is concerned, and especially his Islamic education.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and definitely if you look and study the life of ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi ta'ala, you will see that his honorable father, Maulana Naqi Ali Khan rahmatullahi ta'ala, a great father, he was, you could say, he played a big role in his upbringing. Yeah, definitely these great individuals, you could say he was born in a house of scholars, in the house of ulama.
His father was a scholar, his grandfather was a scholar, and then later on, his own generation became
brothers.
Till today, they're all scholars.
They had great names. Yeah, they had great names of their own time. And even up to now, subhanAllah, that house, that family is the heartbeat of possibly millions and millions of Muslims around the world.
Definitely.
Yeah, subhanAllah. So at the age of 6, we were talking about earlier, the age of 6, delivering a 2-hour speech, and then in-depth discussion on the topic of Miladun Nabi, or the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. This is unique. And when he delivered this speech, even the ulama who were present,
they were astonished as well.
They were astonished. They appreciated this great effort. I'm sure they would have done so much dua for this child as well.
Definitely.
They knew something special was coming.
And there's actually a story that's been mentioned as well, that once when ALAHAZRAT was really young, very young, they saw that a person came into the Bareilly city, and he was wearing like some Arab clothing, Arab attire. And what he did was, he came up to ALAHAZRAT and he started to converse with him in Arabic. And ALAHAZRAT was very young then. First of all, it's a completely separate language from what ALAHAZRAT speaks. And secondly, he's at such a young age that, even just about knowing his own language was a big achievement. But seeing that ALAHAZRAT was speaking Arabic with this certain person that came, it was amazing. And people around them, they were very shocked that, this young boy, how is he speaking Arabic? And they were really amazed at this as well. So this is definitely one of the karamats, one of the miracles, the marvels of Imam Ahmed Raza Khan.
SubhanAllah, there's another very famous incident that took place in his life. At the age of 6, ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi became aware that this particular direction is towards the great shrine of the Sultan of Awliya, the great individual who is known as Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. In our area, we refer him as Ghaus-e-Pak or Ghaus al-Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So he became aware that this particular direction is towards Baghdad, the city in Iraq. And from that moment, when he became aware, from that moment, the ulama have written that he never stretched his legs towards that direction.
Subhanallah.
Out of love or respect for Huzur Ghaus Pak Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullahi
Mashallah.
alayhi.
Mashallah.
You know, as a 6-year-old,
Such a tender age and
who-
such a high level of respect.
subhanallah.
You know, it shows how high his maturity was even at that age as well.
Allahu Akbar,
And some people
Allahu
might question, you know, oh, what is this facing your feet to not facing your feet towards
the elderly people,
elderly
or
person or a
scholars,
shaykh, yeah.
or mazar.
But in fact, it's actually from the Salaf. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, it's recorded about him that he wouldn't face his legs towards his teacher Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhi. In fact, not just towards his teacher, but towards the house of his teacher.
Subhanallah.
So this is following in the
Subhanallah,
footsteps of the
subhanallah.
Salaf.
You know, that's what, you know, we hear this from elders and scholars. The adab, the respect is something very important in your life. Yeah, and you know, looking at this incident, 6-year-old, he has this understanding that because this particular direction is towards Baghdad, therefore I will not stretch my legs that way. You know, just knowing this shows you, you know, his nurturing, his upbringing, and what parents have instilled in his heart.
Definitely.
Yeah, the love of awliya, the great saints, the great scholars of
That
Islam.
very famous Urdu proverb comes into my mind listening to this waqia, that ba adab ba nasib, and be adab bad nasib. That the one who is ba adab, someone who is respectable, then he's the one that will attain. He is the one that will get the ranks. He will the one that will be getting the success. But the one who is be adab, who is disrespectful, then he will be the one that is disgraced, or the one that won't be successful.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. May Allah make us and all the viewers who are watching, may Allah make us from those who have honor and respect, especially for ulama, scholars of deen, because these are personalities who sacrifice their lives in learning education, and after their graduations, they spend the whole life in service of Islam as well. Subhanallah. Another aspect of ALAHAZRAT's childhood is that from a very young age, he was extremely passionate about salah. Regularly, he used to pray salah with jama'at. And not just with jama'at, he used to regularly visit the masjid and read namaz with takbir-e-ula, the first takbir. That shows you that, you know, ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi would get ready for salah before the time. Yeah, you know, normally, you know, if someone wants to make sure that he joins the takbir-e-ula in the masjid, then he would definitely have to do wuzu 15-20 minutes before and make sure he's on his way to the masjid, he's waiting for the jama'at. You know, a 6-7-year-old having that passion, yeah, this is what is probably missing in our households as well. Yeah, this is something that we need to keep an eye, that look, parents of ALAHAZRAT put a lot of effort, you know, in nurturing and giving him the right upbringing. Yeah, and that, look, we could see the result in his later life. Even in the childhood as well, but especially in the legacy that he's left behind. Even now, if you look at this program that we are doing, you know, over 102 years since he passed away, we are still remembering him, we are still inspired by him. Now, whenever we hear about him, we're talking about his childhood, and that's enlightening our hearts. Yeah, just imagine when we talk about, inshallah, in the future programs, when we talk about his achievements and great legacies that he's left behind, and his services for deen, and his love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just imagine what impact it's going to have on our hearts.
Definitely. You know what thing is mentioned by the scholars as well, that a child is like a blank slate. So whatever you instill in that child or engrave into that child, it will stay on that child for the rest of his life. And you can see that in ALAHAZRAT's life, like at that young age, being such, paband, such adherent to salah, not missing not even one. It's said that it's as if he was even sahib-e-tardeeb, meaning someone that has not even missed any salah. That was the level of how much he used to be punctual to salah. So because at a young age he was punctual of salah, so later on in his life, it wasn't a difficult action for him to do. It was something part of his routine, part of his habit, that I'm going to be praying salah.
SubhanAllah. You know, Habib bhai, there's another aspect of our deen, which is modesty. You know, having, you know, modesty in the eyes in particular. Yeah, you know, there's like a barrier or a line between what you can do or what you can look and what you can't
Can't
look.
look at.
Yeah, in general, Muslim adults are told to not look at the opposite gender. So Muslim men should lower their gaze if they see any strange woman. Yes,
It's a Quranic
it's
command.
a verse from the Quran. It's a command of Allah Ta'ala.
Yeah.
Similarly, for ladies are also given the same command that you must keep your gaze lowered. So you shouldn't be mixing with each other, and you should keep your gaze lowered and be modest. And there's this particular aspect you can actually see from the life of ALAHAZRAT in his young age as well. It is said that if any woman came in front of him, he will look down. As a child, just imagine some ladies are walking past and he's just looking down. This is called his deep love for the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What these values mean to him. Yeah. Whenever a lady goes past, he wouldn't stare at that person. He wouldn't look around, forget talking to that person. He would look down. So even at the age of 6, 7, 8-year-old, as a child, he was aware of these rules. Yeah, this is something beautiful aspect of the life of ALAHAZRAT. May Allah Almighty bless our parents today as well to have that type of mindset. That it's not just about giving the best of clothes to your children. It's not just about giving them the best foods, the best fruits, giving
the best games or
games.
whatever.
It's not just this. There's more to it. Especially those who are Muslims. I'm talking to you. Muslim parents should take this a responsibility. In fact, if you look at the importance of giving the correct upbringing to a child, compare this from 100 or 200 years ago and now. Now is a time that it's more important for us.
Yeah.
No, we cannot ignore this. Yeah, because if you don't give the right upbringing to your children at the young age, then you're leaving them to the world. And the challenges that they're going to face in their teenage, in the adult life, you're not getting them ready.
It's unfortunately ongoing, you can say an issue, because the main reason is that our own parents, the parents of today's day and age, the main reason is that the parents of today's day and age, they themselves are not adherent of the Sharia, they themselves are not following the Sharia. So because they aren't doing that, in that order, it's making the child then also not follow the Sharia, because the child does what the parent does. And then because the child, when he gets older, he won't be in the Dini mindset, he won't have the religious upbringing, so he's going to continue doing his bad things, and then that will pass down to his child. And then ongoing, that train of sins or that generation of a bad upbringing will continue throughout the generations. So there needs to be someone that makes a quick change, and that change will then bring a change in the next generation as well. Now you can see ALAHAZRAT, rahmatullahi alayhi, his father was a mufti, his grandfather was mufti, and then he himself was amazing mufti, okay, the biggest of muftis. And then his ongoing generation, they're all scholars.
Subhanallah.
And you will see that as well, that many people that have changed their life and have become ulama or have gone towards the Islamic lifestyle, their generations then ongoing, they also be religious as well.
Subhanallah. Now, as we are talking about the childhood of ALAHAZRAT, so when did officially ALAHAZRAT become a mufti?
So this point is something which everyone mentions because it's such an amazing point. And no matter how many times you mention it, it still amazes you each time. Especially those that understand the level of mufti. That first of all, I'll just give you an example of myself or students that are studying religious knowledge. Those that go through the alim course, they will have to first complete a 6-year course, which is actually a reduced course. It was actually 8 years, and even before that, in the time of ALAHAZRAT, it was actually more than that.
Possibly 12 years.
Probably 12 years, yeah. And after completing 12 years, then they will go more into the religious field and spend another good few years studying even more. After that, this person still doesn't become a mufti. He still has to go under another mufti and take guidance from him, be under his guidance, making sure that any answers that he does, any answers he answers, it gets checked by his teacher, who is also mufti. And then when that his teacher feels that he's comfortable enough, then he will give the permission of him becoming a mufti. So that's basically, you can say, a good 20 years of a person's life, an average person's life, in becoming from a scholar to a mufti. And then let me explain now that ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi, just at a very tender age of 13 years, 10 months and 4 days, ALAHAZRAT Imam Ahmed Raza Khan rahmatullahi alayhi graduated and also gave his first verdict, his first fatwa at that tender age as well.
SubhanAllah. 13 years of age. You know, I'm just thinking again, in today's time, someone who's a 13-year-old teenager, he wouldn't even know, the basics of deen.
Basics of deen,
yeah. Like there's a basic fiqh book called Laws of Salah. Yeah. Many teenagers, they probably haven't read that book.
Just the simple, like the simple things, farais of wudu, they probably wouldn't even know.
They wouldn't know. Yeah. And
they probably wouldn't even know what does fara'id mean.
And where we live now in this day and age, 2021, this era is known for technology. It's known for the smart generation. Yeah, you can learn knowledge from different sources, and it's become so easy for you.
Gold on the plate.
Yeah, it's on the plate. Yeah, subhanallah. But even in this age, and you compare the childhood of ALAHAZRAT, he was way far. He was so advanced. Even 150 years ago, subhanallah, where even we being in the latest era of technology, even then, we're so behind. Yeah, and
today's day and age, unfortunately, we're so lacking of knowledge. And even though it's the easiest thing that we can attain, just sitting on your phone, in your home, you can be sat on your phone and you can study the Quran, you can study Islam. But ALAHAZRAT or the scholars of the past, they had to travel so many miles, so many months of travel just for like one hadith or just for studying with one teacher. And even today, we don't appreciate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so easy for us, so accessible for us to learn the knowledge of Islam, and we're still lacking.
SubhanAllah, I remember once reading that ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi, when he used to go in the court of his teacher to study knowledge, his teacher used to give the full lecture, and ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi would go over the lesson once or twice, then close the book. The next day, when the teacher would ask questions or would do a test, ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi would describe the whole topic or the whole lecture word by word.
Allahu Akbar.
And as a teacher, he would be amazed. It took me so long to prepare the lecture and to deliver it in front of you, and you just read a few times, and you're able to match the words as well. This is something extraordinary, and to a level that he was once said by the teacher that, please tell me, are you a human or a jinn? Because this obviously it was extraordinary. You wouldn't see that in a child, in a young teenage. You won't see that type of talent. This is just like they say.
It was like photographic memory, basically.
Photographic memory. Yeah, you just read something, and then it just stays in your mind, and then you can read word by word. SubhanAllah, this great individual, the personality that we are talking about. Just imagine, how much effort their parents have put in. We're moving on towards the final part of today's program, and I want to discuss more about upbringing children, which we did touch earlier on as well, but a bit more, some lessons that we can take in as children who are watching this program, or the adults who are watching this program. What could we do different? In our time, in the childhood. One thing that from this particular program that I've learned is that ALAHAZRAT rahmatullahi alayhi, as a child, and his parents, all these people who were involved in his life, his teachers, all these individuals, they made sure that the time of ALAHAZRAT did not go to waste. In a young age, where most of your time could go into playing, running around, just doing nothing.
Useless.
Just letting the time go waste. But these people who were around this great Imam at a young age, and they helped him to nurture and to have the right upbringing, they made sure that he valued his time, and they made sure they instilled that love in his heart as well. That, and not just this, it's dedication. Especially, if there's anyone who's watching, and if you actually do put effort in with Islamic education for your children, if you actually give your own personal time to them as well, you realize how difficult it is. Because it's not a matter of just doing it one day or 2 days or 2-3 times in a week or giving 1 hour here and there. It's continuous
efforts,
continuous effort. You have to be on top of your children's education. You have to be concerned, and you have to have, if I were to call it, you have to have like targets. You have to set some targets for your child, and you need to make sure the child achieves. At the same time, you don't want to overburden your child as well. Now, what would you say to parents?
It is quite a tricky and hard thing to do. Definitely, as a parent, it would be very hard to analyze the child and see his performance and then give targets and see how well he can perform as well. So that is all to do with how well you know your child. So if you know your child very well, you can then see his abilities, then assess that and give a good or an accurate estimation of what things he needs to achieve and by when as well. And the only way that we can achieve that is by knowing your child. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, we don't give time to our children. That is probably one of the reasons why the children are so far away from the religion and so far away from the parents that they don't give time to the child. So we need to try to start giving time to our children. And secondly, I want to also mention a point for those who are looking to get married, because this program might be for everyone, or youth that are looking to get married. I mentioned a point of Imam Ahmed Raza Khan, what he himself says as well, that the first point or the first level of a child's upbringing starts even way before you're even married. It starts when you're finding a spouse. To find someone, find a mother that could be the child of the mother of your child. Find someone that could be the mother of your child that is that capable, that can upbring a child as well on an Islamic level.
You could probably say, in these words, that the first right of a child is that you give him a good mother.
Brilliant. Brilliantly put.
And that is something that, a lot of people who are looking for a match, looking for a marriage, they don't really consider this. The person they're going to get married, inshallah, she will be the mother of your children. And it could be the other side as well. The lady who's getting married, she's marrying with the person.
Yes, it definitely works vice versa.
Who will become the father of the children as well. So, can you imagine? Is that the ideal person to be the father of your children or the mother of your children? That is something that we definitely need to look at, because your parents' role cannot be underestimated. They definitely play a massive role in the upbringing of children, and what happens in their later life is possibly, you can say, decided in a young age. They say by the age of 7 or 8. Now, as a child, whatever has been instilled in your minds, whatever image that you have of life and whatever direction you have, whatever skills or the basis of those skills that you have in your life, these are the skills you will have in your whole life. And whichever field you choose possibly could be linked to your childhood. The interest that you had at that age. And if we as parents take this responsibility seriously and make sure that we give the right upbringing to our children, we give them the best upbringing to the children, and inshallah, these children will become a means of coolness to our eyes. These children will become a means of ongoing charity, sadaqah jariyah, for us even when we passed away as well.
Inshallah.
When you realize, those parents who are watching this, you will understand this, that when if your loved one have passed away, if it's any of your parents or anyone from your elders who have passed away, then on that occasion you realize that if you had Islamic knowledge, then you would want to make sure that you fulfill the rights of the deceased in the best way, which is the burial. Before the burial is giving the bath, the ghusl, then shrouding, then janazah, and then
the burial,
and even after the burial as well. Remembering them, making dua for them, doing isal thawab, doing charity on their behalf, and this is an ongoing work. And definitely, parents should really look the life of ALAHAZRAT and take this lesson that we need to put more effort in, and to give our better education to our children, inshallah. Habib bhai, I really enjoyed it today. MashaAllah, today we
Definitely.
had a very in-depth discussion about the childhood of ALAHAZRAT, and I hope, inshallah, the viewers of Madani Channel, you've enjoyed this program as well. Inshallah, in the coming programs, we are going to talk about different aspects of the life of Sayyidi ALAHAZRAT Imam Ahmed Raza Khan rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. And the idea behind this particular series, who is ALAHAZRAT, the objective of this particular series is that we want to enlighten the hearts and we want to make you more aware of the great personality of ALAHAZRAT. We want you to really, we do admire him, but we want you to admire him the more, because the more you know about him, you will really understand his greatness. Yeah, and inshallah, hopefully, do dua that we can fulfill this purpose as well, inshallah. So until then, inshallah, keep watching Madani Channel, keep yourself busy in good things. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
Ala Hazrat, Ala Hazrat, Imam Ahmed Raza, Imam Ahmed Raza. Let's know who was Ala Hazrat.